Reform UK is a right-wing populist party currently trying to take on the Tories at the next general election. Formerly the Brexit Party, they've campaigned against lockdowns, net zero pledges, and of course, immigration. This week, they held their spring rally where Alexandra Phillips gave this speech.
I am white and I don't feel ashamed. I am a woman and I don't have balls down there, but I have balls, I tell you that. I'm straight. And I passionately believe in the sanctity of marriage as happy households make a healthy society. I am a curious Christian and I rally against efforts to change 2,000 years of community and shared morality to fit in with some kind of neoliberal dogma. You know, this determination to dissolve the glue that has held us together for centuries and destroy a culture that has enabled us to thrive and to prosper in harmony is now so pervasive that most of our politicians dare not speak against it. Big corporations aren't challenging it. No, they're trying to profit from it. And we, the ordinary people, are being increasingly encouraged to just dumbly accept it when we really don't want to. No, we don't. Did we not see in the recent SNP leadership election so clearly attacks on a Christian candidate who stood up for her beliefs? Only to be beaten by a man of Muslim faith, never once held accountable for his.
That last thing, I mean, there's a bunch of things you can say about that, but that last thing's just a complete outright lie. Kate Forbes was asked what she thought about abortion and gay marriage, and she gave one answer, and Humza Yousaf was asked what he thought about those things, and he gave a different answer. His answer was more socially liberal, so he didn't get attacked the same way that Kate Forbes did. Anyway, maybe I'm taking her more seriously than I should do, but I just thought that needed to be quickly debunked. It was very amdram, I thought, the whole speech, but Reform UK are not doing too badly in the polls. So according to YouGov, their latest poll, Reform have 6%. Now, that might not sound much, but the Greens are on 5%. A party which haven't been around for too long is outpolling the Greens, at least in that one poll. Dahlia, how worried should we be about this party, or should we just be entertained by how batshit they seem in the speeches they've been giving this week?
I mean, once I saw that clip of her screaming, "I'm white and I don't feel ashamed," I was like, that's about to get flogged on social media. Like that's going to be memed the hell out of that, which I also participated in. I was like, this is me when I'm digging into my cream tea at my favorite National Trust cafe. But yeah, I mean, we should be worried. I actually appeared on Politics Live with this. Well, I didn't really know who she was at the time. Now I realize she's a pound shot Marine Le Pen. It's very interesting how, you know, when she was sitting next to me on Politics Live, talking about sort of being treated as a sort of common sense person, you know, talking about the fact that Britain has essentially abandoned the Refugee Convention. And she was saying, you know, oh, of course, you know, we would never abandon the Refugee Convention. That's not what this is about. This is about just, you know, sorting out our asylum processes. And in the studio, she was treated as a sort of reasonable interlocutor in the, you know, political landscape. But then when you see her in her own crowd, she's essentially, you know, a lot of what she's saying to me feels like it's kind of gesturing towards some of the anxieties of this great replacement theory that is becoming popularized amongst the far right, which is essentially this bizarre idea that white people are under some sort of coordinated threat, that there is this coordinated attempt to, you know, reduce the number of white people, to make them feel ashamed, to undermine essentially the superiority of whiteness. And they use this in order to kind of spread conspiracy theories, in order to make people, in order to sort of stoke up tensions within communities. And it's funny how the growth of something like that within our politics is kind of increasingly being normalized as just a normal part of political conversation without any regard for the history of harm that kind of thinking has embedded. And you're completely right. that, you know, it's grounded in a complete fantasy. The comparison between Kate Forbes and Humza Yousaf is so deeply racist, because Kate Forbes has openly talked about how her faith shapes the way she's going to be governed. So understandably, journalists were asking her, well, what does that mean for the policies that you're promoting? Humza Yousaf is a Muslim, but he has always said that the way that he governs is not shaped by his faith. He's never evoked his faith in the context of how he plans to govern Scotland if he was elected First Minister. So really, the fact that journalists still continue to ask him constantly, despite the fact he always gave a clear answer about whether or not his faith would mean that he would roll back on the civil liberties of the queer community, that was motivated from a bigoted position that essentially thinks that Muslims aren't capable of participating in, you know, the democratic norms of Western society, right? And so that's why there was something different between the way that Kate Forbes was talked about, because she put her faith out there as a governing principle of her politics, whereas Humza Yousaf was, and that's why she was asked about it. Humza Yousaf was only asked about it because he's a brown Muslim and there's paranoia about, you know, brown Muslims being in public life. And so in a sense, the actual reality of what happened was an exact inversion of what Alex Phillips was portraying there. But that's the whole point. It's to feed this paranoia that will have, when pursued to its logical end, incredibly destructive and harmful consequences, particularly for people of color in this country.